Hi and welcome to the third part of the tutorial about researching your aspects of caricature design. Now, as I said in the first or second video, I decided to do Charlie Chaplin as a kind of an example for you to follow, mainly because I love the way he poses himself and everything, and it's just ideal and suitable for actually doing caricatures. So I'm going to do that, and as I was explaining in the first video, I was looking for several different poses of Charlie Chaplin. I came across the one I wanted to use as the basis for my caricature, which is this one. I'm going to explain why. I'm going to explain about a few other images I have and how it's going to get started and turn it into a caricature. First of all, I'm going to just extend this canvas just so I can have some space next to it to be able to draw a little bit. Like so. I'm just going to zoom in so we can see as well. Now, the reason I chose this, I'm going to just put a thing so I don't destroy the actual picture itself. I'm going to just draw some lines on here. I'll do it in a blue colour or something, just so we can see what I'm talking about. Okay. Now, one of the things I like about this this picture is the actual shape of the body. If you look at this, oops, hang on, I'm just going to turn it to RGB so I can actually see the quality of those lines don't flatten. Okay. So there's this line here and this line here. Causes a kind of a contrast between that line. So basically, what we're talking about is something a little bit like that. If you stop extreme, doing it in the extreme. Now you notice as well, just visually looking at this portion here to that portion in there, it looks longer. So what you have to do when you're doing a caricature is make his legs a lot longer as well. Okay, like so. Alright, now the only thing that's relatively straight is this arm, so you use that as a kind of a basis to do the actual forming, but you'll notice there is also this. So I'm going to bring all these elements together. I'm just explaining at the moment why I'm doing it, but this arm here has a downward slope, but because it's a caricature we can manipulate it slightly to make it more interesting. I'm going to pull it up slightly like so. Okay, so let's put that there. And also you notice his coat goes like that and you've got this open bit there. So these are the kind of elements that we're going to be looking at. We've talked about the head before, I'm talking about the body now. So we can discuss the head when we do the actual sketching part of it. Now that would emphasise the expression. Yeah, you notice he's got this kind of, oh god, what am I doing here kind of expression. So this is going to emphasise it in the pose. Okay, now this pose may change a little bit, it may not be so extreme when I'm actually finalising it, but the thing is, it's there. It's a kind of a point where even in the photographic look it actually looks kind of caricaturized. That's the great skill that Charlie Chaplin had. Okay, so that's one reason I'm actually choosing it. You also notice he's got this hunched look about him just around here, around there. It doesn't seem to be a lot of neck, so that's one thing we have to build into it. Okay, there's that kind of hunched look. Gives it the kind of quality of that picture. Now, comparison to that is this photograph that I found as well. Now, what I want to do, I'm not going to actually simply replicate this. What I'm going to do is actually design it on its own ground. Let me just open a quick new document to show you what I'm talking about. The idea is I'm going to imagine that there's a kind of a plane that he's standing on, like so. And so if you look, he's got these feet, like so. What I want to do is actually draw a base plate like that, and then draw the body coming up here as it was, if you remember, like so. But make it so it looks like this part of it's in perspective, and then it goes up into a. So this is kind of the horizon line. So everything above it's going to be kind of bending up that way, and everything that's this way is going to be bending to look like you're looking down. So you're looking down here, looking up here. Okay, so there's going to be that kind of curvature here, and that's going to emphasize this even more. Okay, that's the idea. I'm going to do it. And so what I'm saying about this photograph, which is nice, is that it's got these kind of angles on the actual thing. I've got to turn it into RGB again. Okay, so it's got these angles here, which I'm going to use quite nicely, and it's also got this nice shot of the foot there. Okay, but this way, and all the wrinkles and everything are more exaggerated and nicer to look at than the original one. If you look at that one, it's almost in black, and there's this just very straight thing. So what I'm going to do is use elements of this body, like the actual lighting and everything, and draw it into that one. Yeah, see, this is much more interesting, this angle of the stick, than the actual one I just showed you. So, and his posture's not so interesting on that one either, but it's got nice detailing about how the coat works with the lighting and everything and the wrinkles, whereas this one, it's got lots of dark shadow and things, and you can't really see the interesting information there as much. So I'm going to use a combination of the two, and this is what I tend to do with a lot of my caricatures. Also, you'll notice the, I don't know if it's called that, but look, you know how ballerinas stand? It's got one foot forward and the other one back, like that. Okay, so that's how that one looks, whereas this one is just side to side, and that's very flat. It's one of the cardinal sins of drawing cartoon characters, to have flat feet. Okay, so you want to avoid that as much as possible, but there are elements of this picture that are usable, which I'm going to manipulate. That's not even worth looking at that one. There's a kind of close-up, and it's got nicer detailing on the picture. Okay, it's a very low-res image, but you can see that it's got the grain on the costume, which is quite nice to look at. And also I found some images of his face, which is going to be very good to actually do the composition to get the kind of styling of this, because it's just basically that. But I want to give some detailing around the eyes and maybe add extra lines, like these kind of lines here, when I'm painting it, to give it kind of a bit more character. Because one thing I do is I do my illustrations at around about 15,000 pixels, which means you can zoom in quite a lot and see quite a lot of detail. So if you're just going to literally do the caricature with that much detail, it's going to look really horrible when it gets printed, and if it's someone that orders one that's very big and high res, then it's going to look terrible. Okay, so what you want to do is to look and research and find information about his face as much as you can, so when you come to paint it, you can actually add that as a kind of aspect. You see those lines there, it looks nice. Okay, and all this kind of stuff. So find out as much as you can about different images of him, you know, how his wrinkles are working. He's actually painted extra eyebrows on top of his own eyebrows, all this kind of stuff. Okay, so this is all going to be appropriate for when you actually come to do this. Okay, and this kind of stuff. Try to find one of his hair, so you know how the hair lines work. I don't think it's even nice. It's not even visible on these ones. But you get a kind of a slight feeling of it. But this is what you got to do. And I wanted this one for the tie. It gives a kind of a great look of how the tie works, and the patterning on the waistcoat, which you can't actually see on this one. Okay, which is going to come in handy. So the reason I chose all these different pictures is to help me eventually do this one pose I'm planning on doing, which is a kind of a version of this, but my own kind of stance, which I'll probably even actually. So this is probably. I'll probably even make it more extreme, this. So his feet are kind of like that, and have this kind of three-dimensional quality to it. So his stick's going to come out to about there. Okay, and see, we're going to see how it works. So over the period of the tutorial, I'm going to show how I build this up and paint it and everything. Talk about the different elements. But at this point, this is how I would start working on the idea. It's only a base stage. It's not how the end product looks, because you've seen some of my caricatures, but it's how I would choose the different images for the body. What we have to do is then decide how to then compose the two things together, the face and the body.